Hey everyone, it's Erin with Hail Varsity. I am joined by Brandon, also of Hail Varsity, and we are back for another recruiting question of the week, just one day late because we hope you are all enjoying a day, doing whatever it was with, hopefully you had a day off. I know not everyone does, but regardless, hopefully you had a nice fourth and were able to relax in some ways. Brandon, how are you?
Doing well. Pretty quiet 4th of July myself, though it seems recently in the past couple of years at least, this has become a big commitment weekend for high school prospects out there. Makes sense. It's the biggest summer holiday, gives kind of a reason to do things. And I think with the current recruiting calendar, it's the right time for a lot of guys to commit. Being able to take official visits earlier, you can kind of get this done and not have to wait until your football season.
You're right. And I admittedly used the Nebraska had fireworks this weekend anecdote that everyone quite literally used, but Nebraska did get a commitment from Georgia wide receiver Barry Jackson Jr. This week, he became Nebraska's 11th commitment. Now, there were some questions if Nebraska would get a second commitment through the weekend, and that did not pan out to be the case. But we are going to talk about this week because, as I said, a lot of questions about sort of what's next for Nebraska. It's something that so many of you have brought up. So we'll dive into this because just first and foremost, depending on when you are watching this video, let's just be abundantly clear. Nebraska may have a commitment at this point. There is a commitment watch out right now for Dylan Rogers. So you may be watching this and that commitment announcement has come. Just know that we are not ignoring that. As of everything has pointed toward Nebraska. So hopefully when you're watching this video, that has been the case. That has come true. But he's not the only one making decisions through this week. He's not the only one who has made decisions. So Brandon, let's just talk about this. You just made that point about how 4th of July has become sort of a big target date for commitments. What should Nebraska fans be thinking right now? Like I said, you have your 11th commitment, might have a 12th commitment. Who knows what the week might bring at this point? Just what should fans make of all of this right now?
Yeah, so Nebraska went into last weekend, I think, really in the mix for four players. Really got Jackson from Georgia, which of course, thanks to the efforts largely of Sean Beckton, I think, in my opinion, have kind of set up a nice pipeline to Georgia. Got Barry Jackson, 5'11", 175, pretty classic slot receiver with plenty of speed. And we know that Nebraska is not done at wide receiver. Malachi Coleman is still out there. That's the big name. And we'll see what else Terry Joseph can shake loose on the recruiting trail. He's done a great job there so far. Dontavius Braswell, running back, kind of surprised everybody committed to South Carolina. I thought Nebraska was in a pretty good spot with him. And that South Carolina commitment came from nowhere. And then this wasn't the player I think I necessarily knew was going to make a decision this weekend, but linebacker Phil Picchiotti chose Oklahoma. He was a player Nebraska was high on. Condole that one a little bit. If Dylan Rogers, a linebacker from Texas, who just looking at the photos from his visit to campus, looks like a college linebacker right now. And like you said, we don't know. At this point, he hasn't committed. At the point of this recording, he may at any moment. But I think the Huskers are in a pretty good spot there. So they're going to fill a couple of needs. I think going forward, running back recruiting, Nebraska came up just short twice recently. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And then that wide receiver piece of it's going to keep being the push for some guys there is going to continue. So Nebraska is going to end up in a spot, I think, by the time we get to fall camp, probably further ahead than I thought they would be in terms of class size overall. Like you said, it's at 11 now. They're going to be in a pretty good spot, I believe, by the time we get to the end of July.
And if you're wondering, I think that number kind of keeps growing for Nebraska at this point now that the recruiting class number, obviously there's a lot of pieces that play into it when you're talking about the potential departures at one point, what are they going to potentially need as far as space for the transfer portal when we're looking ahead. But regardless, it does look like this class is going to be just a hair larger than what we were originally anticipating. I think We're not talking like any great amount larger. We're talking maybe 2 or 3 spots larger than what we were originally thinking. So like it could be as many as 18. Like it's not going to be a giant class, but that is much different than, the last 2 years. We were really looking at classes of like 13, 14, and Nebraska definitely has a little bit more wiggle room on that. And they still have people out there. Like we know Malachi Coleman is somebody that is high on Nebraska's radar, but he's not looking at making a decision really for some time now. I think he's pushed all the way, as we've talked about in these videos before. He'd be looking at like a December timeframe, like before the early signing period. So, that could always change. They could always, make a decision sooner. That has been known to happen, but he's really, he wants to see this season ahead. Like he wants to see what's going to happen for Nebraska, what's going to happen for other schools he's interested in. He's really kind of wanting to see the season out. And so Nebraska definitely has to kind of play that game as well, of like keeping an eye on like who do they have right now, who could they potentially get in the future, etc. One person that, just to kind of keep on everyone's radar is Joshua Manning. I know his name came up quite a bit in the Nebraska sphere over the weekend. He is a 4-star wide receiver from Missouri, Husker target. He was going to make his decision on the 3rd of July. That was his plan. He ultimately pushed that decision back. What does it mean? Well, let's be just quite frank. He was projected to pick Kansas State. Pretty much everyone had him picking Kansas State. Does that mean maybe he's now interested in Missouri? Does that mean Nebraska maybe is back in, talks for him? It's hard to say in these cases, but this is one where he tweeted out that he has not set a new date. He appreciates the support, but he is clearly needing to think some things through. So you never know what's kind of going on behind the scenes with these things. But then you also, like Brandon, you brought up with the Braswell situation, who knows? Somebody could have come out of, left field unexpectedly, and here they're committing last minute. So Nebraska, there is still out there for a number of people. It's just more or less like, what does it mean? One last one I'll share with everyone, and then I'll pass it back, Brandon, for any final thoughts, is if you're keeping an eye on Missouri 4-star offensive lineman Caden Green, he is set to make a decision this upcoming Friday, July 8th. It is not leaning toward Nebraska. Nebraska is in his top 4 alongside Oklahoma, LSU, and Missouri. He will make his announcement on Friday, 5 p.m. Central on CBS Sports. It's a big deal. That's where we're at. He'll make an announcement on CBS Sports. But it looks like he's leaning Oklahoma right now. So if you're somebody who wants to tune in, again, you never know. Things can happen really unexpectedly over a week, but it doesn't seem to be ultimately ending in Nebraska's favor there. But hey, I know there's no moral victories. Some people are just happy that Nebraska even got included in the top 4. So there is that. You might be that person, which I am not here to shame you. Please don't shame me for bringing it up, but someone certainly will. Please don't shame me. But Brandon, are there any final thoughts as we kind of get through this week, knowing that there are still decisions to be made and they might not go Nebraska's way, but Nebraska's at least in the conversation for some of these?
Yeah, just it's becoming interesting to me with Green, and then with Picciotti's decision yesterday on Monday. It seems like Nebraska and Oklahoma are starting to intersect more on the recruiting trail than I remember. I haven't done any analysis on this. This is just my kind of gut feeling, which is just interesting on a couple fronts. Does it mean a change for where Oklahoma is recruiting and who Oklahoma is recruiting under a new coaching staff? Does it mean Nebraska is getting into these final 4, 5, 6, whatever it may be, for players? So that would just be something I'm watching going forward. And it looks like Oklahoma is going to come out on top on most of those for now. But like you said, with Malachi Coleman, he's very interested in what Nebraska's season ahead looks like. So am I. I'm very interested.
We're all in that same boat with Malachi. We all are interested in this season ahead. And if you want more on this particular topic, you can check out the recruiting notebook tonight at hailvarsity.com. It will go live at 6 p.m. Central. And we're just going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of these outstanding targets for Nebraska. Now, there are a lot of targets coming through the month of July, so we won't dive into every single person just yet. We'll keep this coming as the weeks go on, because there's going to be a lot to dive into. But if you want more on a little bit of what we talked about today specifically, head to hailvarsity.com tonight, 6 p.m. Central. The recruiting notebook is live Sunday through Thursdays. Again, just appointment reading, just go ahead and bookmark that now. It did take a break yesterday for the holiday. The recruiting notebook did take a day off. So don't go looking for a Monday story, but it will be there this evening. As always, we appreciate you watching, commenting, leaving questions. The recruiting question of the week will return to Monday next week. We'll have plenty more content to come this week here on YouTube. So thank you for watching, subscribing, chiming in. We do appreciate you all very, very much. Brandon, thank you for jumping in and joining us. Your knowledge is very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.